Good afternoon. I'm Madonna Guy, and you're here with the Natural Alternative. Welcome. I am, as a naturopath of 30 years, it's always interesting when you find documentation that proves what you've been saying forever. Now, as a young naturopath, we were told that there were 6 things we weren't allowed to treat. So going back 30 years ago, here in Australia, we weren't allowed to treat things like diabetes and cancer and yada, yada, yada. So it was sort of interesting because I always knew that we weren't allowed to use the word cure. They never sort of they said it was against the law and that you could end up in jail, but you didn't sort of pay any attention. So this has just been forwarded to me. So I thought I would share it because it's just a bit of fun. So, checking this out. So, this is the Cancer Act from 1939, an act to make provision for the treatment of cancer, to authorize the Minister of Health to lend money to the National Radium Trust to prohibit certain advertisements related to cancer and for the purposes connected with the matters aforesaid. So, this is in the UK. Now, as we know, most of our things that happened here in Australia originally happened in the UK. And I certainly, in the last couple of years, have found I've been talking to lots of doctors who have been terrified about things like ivermectin and fenbendazole, and especially now that there's been studies that have been proven to actually help with cancers. And I know people who are doing these things sort of behind the doors, and there's another one of our doctors who is trying to get her registration. She was she's not allowed to practice as a GP for 3.5 years. So even though now there is so much research going on that is proving that substances are safe and effective and incredibly beneficial, she's still having to basically agree that she's a detriment to society for recommending things that save lives. And over the years, I've heard of so many naturopaths and doctors who have gone to jail for treating people and potentially using the word cure. We're just not allowed to do it. So isn't that interesting that there's an act from 1939? And I don't know if you know how that hierarchy started, but obviously the Rockefellers took over the medical system in the US in 1913. By the time they had been in control of medicine for 7 years, cancers had gone through the roof. So in the early 1920s, they had to create the American Medical Association, the American Cancer Association. And by this stage, they had to start looking at ways they were going to treat the cancer. And of course, here in Australia, if you want to try anything natural, you are not allowed, like, for example, immunotherapy. You're not allowed to try it until you have gone through the process of chemo and radiation. So watching people go through these processes decimate their immune systems and then come out the other side and go, oh, gee, now we'll try some immunotherapy. And they go, see, immunotherapy doesn't work. It's all pretty interesting watching it. And it's one of the reasons why I never, ever, ever donate to Cancer Foundation donations, because you're not allowed to look for a cure. And I have this argument every time someone turns up at my house, every time I see it on Facebook and someone says, I'm putting my hand up, I'm doing Fight for a Cure this month. And I always look at it and think I would not give them 5 cents. I would not give them 5 cents because they are not after a cure. And now we know why. Yeah, so did you know that under the 1939 Cancer Act, it's actually a criminal offence for medical practitioners to even advise patients on potential cancer cures? This raises the question, wouldn't it be considered fraudulent for cancer charities to accept donations under the assumption that they are searching for a cure when it's actually a criminal act for them to publicise such cures? And it's still in effect today, and medical practitioners are constantly being prosecuted for attempting to cure cancer. Let's hope the whole Maha movement helps this sort of thing going forward in the future. Have a good day, everyone.